Look at the digital infrastructure driving the global economy today. It is designed, implemented, and managed by a massive tech consulting industry, an ecosystem of experts shaping how the world does business. But the blueprint for this hyper-modern ecosystem was forged over a century ago, driven by a strict moral philosophy born in the American Midwest. At the start of the 1900s, American commerce was in a state of rapid expansion. Markets were chaotic, and corporate reporting was largely unregulated. Investors were flying blind. Simply tallying profits and losses on a ledger was no longer sufficient. Businesses and their investors needed a reliable system of verified truth to navigate the growing complexity of the market. Enter Arthur E. Andersen. The child of Norwegian and Danish immigrants, Andersen was orphaned at just 16 years old and left entirely to his own devices. He survived by taking a day job as a mailboy at the Alice Chalmers plant in Chicago, spending his nights pushing himself through rigorous business courses. His drive to master the mechanics of business economics brought him to Northwestern University. He wanted to understand exactly how organizations functioned under the hood. By 1908, at the age of 23, he earned his degree and became the youngest certified public accountant in the state of Illinois. Surviving those early, grueling years instilled a rigid discipline in Andersen. He adopted a simple, unshakable operating philosophy passed down from his mother: think straight, talk straight. In 1913, Andersen and his partner, Clarence Delaney, pooled their resources. They paid $4,000 to buy out the assets of the Audit Company of Illinois and launched their own accounting firm. The operation was highly concentrated. 2 partners and 6 employees suddenly found themselves facing a wave of intense corporate demand. That demand was driven largely by the newly enacted federal income tax. Facing dense, unfamiliar regulatory documents like this 1913 tax form, businesses required immediate help to decipher the law. From the start, Andersen and Delaney rejected the standard model of the accountant as a passive math clerk. They insisted that their role was to educate clients and offer overarching business advice. By expanding their scope beyond basic arithmetic, they turned financial auditing from a defensive legal requirement into an offensive strategy for corporate growth. The firm's strict ethics were tested immediately. A rail utility executive presented a ledger filled with manipulated data, demanding they sign off on flawed accounts. For a fragile startup, compliance guaranteed a lucrative relationship, while refusing meant severe financial loss. Andersen gave a flat refusal. He told the executive that there was not, quote, enough money in the city of Chicago to make him approve manipulated data. The utility immediately fired the firm. But Andersen was quickly vindicated. Within a few months, the railroad went completely bankrupt. Surviving that early standoff proved that the firm's ultimate loyalty was to investors, not a client's management team. It established an operational standard of uncompromising honesty that fueled their growth for decades. Because Andersen wanted to understand a client's overarching economic health, his teams had to look well past the raw numbers on a balance sheet. They began analyzing how companies were organized and how they operated. The original accounting practice quickly expanded into a dedicated, fast-growing management and financial services division. This momentum carried the firm into the post-World War II era. By the 1950s, the client base had exploded, and massive multinational corporations were searching for new ways to optimize their complex operations. By constantly searching for structural efficiencies, the firm positioned itself perfectly to capitalize on early commercial computing. In 1951, they took a massive technological gamble, agreeing to conduct a comprehensive feasibility study for General Electric. The result of that study was a groundbreaking recommendation. They advised General Electric to automate their processes by installing the UNIVAC 1 computer. It marked one of the very first commercial applications of a computer in United States history. The foundations of modern tech consulting were not laid by software developers. They were built by a pair of Midwestern accountants whose strict code of ethics pushed them to solve problems far beyond the ledger.